So, it's been a while since I've done a video for this. This is Warframe. This is the PC one. You can kind of tell considering the really high sensitivity for the mouse. But yeah, I haven't done a video for this in a while. It's been, I don't know, maybe about a year or two. I think it's been about a year. I mean, I've been playing this off and on the PlayStation 4. Recently had to get rid of that, but that's okay. But for the most part, I'm just trying to get back to.
The detonator is charging up. You need to bring Vor down. He thinks he can capture you again. Don't worry. I will be with you. Let us show him how much you have learned.
I'll turn this kind of down a little bit. There we go. That should work. Okay.
Are you ready, Tenno? Facing Vor is the only way to rid yourself of him permanently.
It's been quite a bit since I've been able to play this, especially on the PC. The quality has definitely improved over time, and
this is our chance.
whatnot.
Vor has been stripped of his elite guard. He is vulnerable. Take him out. This is our chance. Vor has been stripped of his elite guard. He is vulnerable. Take him out.
Don't say. See if I can take these guys both out at the same time. And yeah, the Warframe that I'm playing with is one of the starter Warframes. It's Volt. Not a lot of people choose him. They prefer generally Mag or Excalibur, but the only reason why I chose Vor is because if you notice near my health and my shields, where the blue 240 and the red 160 is at, top corner as I move around, you'll notice the numbers are increasing. It's a passive ability where to 1,000 extra damage is added on my next attack. So that's the main reason why I choose Volt over the other two Warframes. And he's eliminated. Nice. So I have to go this way. Now the level of speed you can gain in this game is kind of ridiculous. I'm pretty sure a large majority of the people in the community already know about how brutal and also how fast this game can be in terms of speed, and like I don't even have any prime frames yet. In the PlayStation 4 mount, I was pretty close. I just needed one more component for Ash Prime. I just needed the chassis, and yeah. Making the move over to PC has been kind of a different change for me, mainly because I'm so used to using a controller. But as you can see, I'm kind of adjusting. Pinned.
I could have saved the Grenier, but they cast me out. Maybe it's not too late to draw your divine blood.
But yeah, a large majority of the little tips that I can give, especially for this game, is if you're starting off, you're generally going to want to go towards stealth kills. Because the only reason why I say that is, you see that stealth kill bonus affinity. So this stacks the more stealth kills that you do. I'm not entirely good at this game, per se. but I'm pretty decent at it. I mean, I've gotten the chance to do some of the higher level or higher tiered relic hunts back when the void wasn't as hard to access. Because I was playing this back before the update where you had to kind of earn your way to the void. Sorry, I'm falling all over myself here. It's been a while since I've streamed. But yeah, anyways, when you were able to just grab the void key, head into the void, and that would pretty much be the activity that you would do. So exterminations, like, you know, level 1 or etc. And yeah, so I gained a lot of stuff, especially on the PlayStation 4 format for this game. But the PC format, I unfortunately
will put you down like a rabbit cobra.
I had to give up my other account that I had, mainly just because of the fact that I couldn't remember the password. I mean, that just proves to you how long it's been since I played this game. Didn't even know what hit him. I generally try to play for stealth. There's some people where, I mean, after a certain point in this game, you kind of just don't care, because you just have all these mods, modifications that add extra damage, extra ammo capacity, armor, health, etc. I mean, you get the picture. Oops. That's another reason why I like the Paris bow. You could pierce through some things. I wouldn't say all. Like, this goes for all versions of the game. I guess is the best way that I can put it is, see this guy around this corner right here, if I were to fire. See that? Kind of just passed through there. Little glitches, I guess, is the best way to put it. It's not entirely an exploit, but I mean, it'll allow you to oh yeah, achievements. What I was saying before, this game is really fun. Come on, around the corner. Thank you. No alarms for you, buddy. Right to the face. Sorry, give me a second here. Let's see here. I don't have an overlay, by the way, while playing this, so like I don't exactly have any way to see any comments. Probably have to see them until afterwards.
Do you realize you're looking?
God, shut up. But Anyways, as I was saying, I don't have an overlay.
Your corpse will serve us well.
There is the assassination target. You know what to do.
Yeah, I don't have an overlay, so I can't see comments, chat, and like just a whole bunch of other stuff. It's kind of hard for me to see anything pertaining to that, so I apologize if, you know, there are people that watch this.
Distract them! You will join us, one way or another.
This starting guy is just really irritating and annoying as
This will hurt!
mainly because you have to down him so many times.
Strike through the Grenier! This one has your name on it. Your corpse will serve us well.
Oh jeez, I'm fucking shots in that. That's not good. There are, for those that are new to this game, I've never heard of Warframe before, there are kind of a set of damage types. There's puncture, slash, and impact. Impact's more useful against shields and whatnot, like, as I'll show you later, there's a enemy faction called Clovers that use shields quite often, and impact damage is really good for dealing with them, and then puncture damage usually is pretty good against the Grenier, mainly because they're heavily armored targets. I mean, just take a look at these guys. Pretty beefy. Well, not now, but later on they will be. And then slash damage, which is generally good for either or. Just because
For my queen, you will join us, one way or another.
already.
Look,
Thank you.
the Ascar's detonator has just disintegrated. It's as if it was directly connected to Vor. You're done here. Go to extraction.
Oh yeah, the story is a little, in my opinion, it's kind of overly dramatic. But that's just my opinion. I know there are some points where it's pretty epic, actually. But sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. There are times where you're kind of just like, oh, just shut up, you know. But anyways, as I was saying, with the damage types, there's also radiation, which is kind of a combination between toxin and electricity damage, which is gained through modifications that you can add to your weapons. Toxin damage is pretty decent for dots, or damage over time. I call it dots. I'm not sure what anybody else likes to call it, but that's just in my personal preference. I call it dots. And then, some weapons are good for crowd control. I mean, there's so many different variations that you can use. For it, so I'll probably get to be able to show you that a little bit more after I complete this. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm starting off over again, so I'm having to redo a lot of different things. I'm having to deal with weapons that I haven't used since pretty much forever. Like the kunai that I have equipped now, the Paris. I'm trying to. When I had the PS4 version to this, I had the actual Paris bow, not the Mark 1. The Mark 1, in my opinion, is far inferior. Same with the Mark 1 kunai, which is these things here. They're far inferior to their actual, like, just standard counterparts. because their standard counterparts are a hell of a lot more damaging, especially if you have the right mods equipped for them. Oops. I'm trying to use the bow. Crowd control. That's another reason why I love the crap out of bow. It's because once you get his electricity all set up and whatnot, it's actually pretty damaging. Like seriously, you can wipe out entire rooms just with one use. Kind of surprised I was able to assassinate that guy. But anyways, as I was saying, once you get the mods, everything like that all sorted out, this game becomes really simple, easy. It's no longer this grind to try to get better weapons. As soon as I'm able to get back to what they consider the main menu, quote unquote, I'll be able to show you the better weapon types. And what weapons you should generally try to look for each different play style, because I've pretty much played them all.
Target down. Assassination contract complete. Great work, Tenno.
And don't mind the chat. Chat's always...
You've done
Chat
it, Tenno.
here is always exploding.
Vor's Ascaris is gone. You are free now.
What am I going?
But your work
Over
has
here.
just begun. The origin system is in chaos.
So-
And it needs you, Tenno.
Weapons, primaries.
Vor was just a part of the Grineer machine.
Let's see.
And we have seen that the Corpus have begun amassing weapons of their own. It is a dangerous time.
Atticus and
Orders will gladly assist
This,
the operator in
I guess,
carrying
is
out
kind of like a...
in whatever mission they choose.
We will be at your side. There will be others too.
Oh my
It is
God, I'm
time
trying
for the
get these
Tenno to
guys
return.
Just be quiet.
So, what mission will you do next?
Okay. So, like I said, damage types. This one happens to be very proficient at puncture. This one is in my opinion, I've used this back with the PS4, back when they were doing the Prestige thing. I was able to get it for free because of being a PlayStation Plus user. But anyways, this thing is pretty nice. You put a fire rate mod on it, a puncture mod, and the standard damage mod that you can get with that, and you upgrade it to a certain point, usually like rank 9, rank 10 or so. And this goes from like 93.8 to like 200, 300 something, around there anyways. But yeah, it's this is more stealth based. It doesn't make any noise. Same with that. These three weapons here, the Scourge, Javelok, and Ferox, are kind of generally new weapons. This one's also a new weapon that was added for Octavia, as you can see right here.
Were you visualizing a bloody battle?
Me too.
This right here is your standard assault rifle. You can choose to have this one, except it's a Mark 1 Bratton, I think, or Breton. I don't know. People pronounce it different. This bow in particular, I really like. I've used it. I mean, look at this stats, and those only go higher once you get to the point to where you get it at max mastery level. Which, okay, sorry, it's getting past the introductory crap. But anyways, as I was explaining, you notice that this says rank 10. This weapon is technically at rank 10, or level 10. And that increases your mod capacity each level. And then there's an ability that you have with weapons once later on where you can use what they call an Orkin catalyst, or a catalyst in chat if you ever noticed stuff for like trading. They'll talk about it every now and again. But anyways, this doubles the capacity. So you go from, because max rank with most weapons in here is rank 30. That Orkin Catalyst will jump it up to 60, and you'll be able to modify it to high hell pretty much. I mean, there's literally nothing you can't do at that point, unless you have some of the better modifications. I personally can't really speak too much of what do they call it, Riven mods, mainly because I haven't had one. I don't know really how they function. But yeah, see, like right now I have starting gear. This is generally what you would see if you were starting off, is you'll see like the Mark 1 bow. There is an actual bow staff. And as you can see over here, the stats, well, they're a little bit better. Not great, but better. Much better. Because that little bit actually does make a difference. Like, you'd be surprised at how much, like, 5 points of damage can make. And then that doesn't include the modifications that you can add to the weapon as well. I mean, there's a whole entire list of weapons here that you can literally build or find blueprints for. I'd recommend that if you're going to be playing this game, to join a clan. And try to aim for the Dragon Nikana. This thing is kind of a must-have weapon in my personal opinion, and especially to get the Prime variant of this, because the Prime variant is very, very nice. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out, there's something else here too, I'm trying to remember. Oh, the Galatine. This is definitely your go-to two-handed sword. Like, literally, it's, in my opinion, it is an executioner of its own. I mean, guillotine, I mean, two and two together, it's not that hard to come across that. This is also a decent weapon, at least in my opinion. I have used it before. It's a toxin-based dagger, so when you attack people, it does toxin damage, so that way you're damaging them over time as well as whatever else you have here. So the higher the amount of toxin damage, if you get this high enough using a toxin modification, you could literally one-hit almost everything. Let's see what else is there. I've used this, but I am not a big fan of it, mainly just because of the fact that the stance modification that I had for it, which is another thing I'll also go into. Oops, not upgrade. Because up here, you notice this little thing here? This is what is considered a stance. And they're usually gold, but you can find some that are kind of pearlescent in color. Those are the kind of the ones you want to aim for, but some gold ones are pretty good. And you can add different styles of attacks, where instead of just the usual standard animation, you'll do different combos and just a whole entire variety of different things. I really wish I could go into it more to show you, but as you can see, I'm kind of having to build from ground one again, which is fine. I don't mind it. It's just it's going to take a little bit. Let's see here.
If I may say, operator, your chosen warframe suits you. Ha ha.
Oh, jeez, cheesy puns. But anyways, another place to look for weapons, like I've said before, it's usually in the marketplace. There's an option here where it shows blueprints only, and a lot of the stuff you can buy just right off the bat. This is a good rifle to have. I'd recommend getting it at some point. Or if you are at that point where you can get this, I'd recommend it. The Paris bow's definitely a must, in my opinion. And if not that one, then the Daikyu. And another one that's good is the Mutilus Cernos, or Cernos, or however you want to pronounce it. I don't care. But this thing is pretty good because it does a crap ton of impact damage. But it also, if you have like I said, a toxin modification, this thing will almost one-hit anything you come across that's shielded. So that's really good for Corvus. This tends to be more for Grenier or Infested, I bet. The Latron, it's kind of, in my opinion, a standard DMR, but it's also really good for like armored targets, Grenier mainly. I've had some time using this as a Grenier weapon, but I personally don't like using it. It's terrible, in my opinion. What else is there? The Boltor I really like. I've used this quite a bit. I've had the Prime, but I decided to trade it for something else, so it was a Ash Prime piece that I needed, which I didn't mind. Let's see what else is there. But anyways, moving on. There are also secondaries. Whoops. There are some secondaries I'd also like to recommend. Is let's see here. For starting off, I would say Kunai. What else is there? There's another one here that I can use. The Vasto. The Viper's okay, but unless you have like extended like mod capacity or magazine capacity, it's like 20 rounds, and you'd be surprised that this thing right here chews through them like they're nothing. I mean, you barely hold that trigger down and you're already reloading. This one is pretty decent. Does a pretty decent amount of slash damage. I would recommend playing around with Puncture, Impact, as well as Slash, just as a kind of an all-rounded pistol. And then later on, once you're able to, there is I think I saw it up here. Where is it? The Akimbo Vasto pistols. I've used this. It's the Atamos. It's okay. It's fun to run around. It's like a little handheld flamethrower. It's kind of fun to watch people run away from you. Mainly because they're on fire, but it's pretty decent. And the other one that I would recommend is the Lex. I'm trying to find out. Here it is. Imagine like a Deagle or a 44 Magnum. This is kind of that. It's kind of got the same firing rate too. I mean, as you can see here, it's about kind of like bang, bang, bang type of deal. It's not exactly like full auto. You can adjust that with the fire rate mod, but I wouldn't recommend doing that with the Lex because there's only like, what, 8 rounds? 6 rounds. The Prime variant of this is very nice for the Lex. Let's see here. Trying to think, there's another secondary in here that I thought was pretty decent. These are fun, but unless you have an electricity mod that it can increase the amount of electricity damage, or yeah, electricity damage that this does, I would recommend only using this in really low level areas to level it up. Best place is Earth, near the level 1 through 3s, in my opinion. These are alright, but I really wouldn't recommend using them. Mainly just because of the fact that you chew through ammo pretty quickly. And the kunai do so much better. And then once you get to the correct level, or if you have other resources, I'd recommend upgrading to the Spira. They're not exactly kunai, they're more throwing daggers, which are bigger and heavier. So yeah. Let's see, what do I need for this? Gallium, plastic salvage. The Lado, where is it? I know there's a single version of this. You can get this in the Mark I variant if you choose to have an assault rifle and a pistol in the beginning instead of a bow and kunai. Like I said, I'm more of a stealth variant type of player, so I prefer stuff that doesn't make any sound. So that way I can sit in a corner and fire and not have to worry about being seen or caught. Let's see. I haven't used this. I've seen other people use it, and they say that it's pretty okay, but Oh man, these are fun. And yes, they do look exactly like nail guns, and they work exactly, or fire exactly like a nail gun, except more in a full auto type of variant, which is pretty nice. You notice that this is a pistol. I personally don't like this one, mainly because it fires in 3 rounds. It's a burst fire weapon, and like the first 2 shots will land right on, but the 3rd shot usually either goes way above or way off to the left or the right, depending on how you're aiming, and it just takes some skill to use, but in the same breath it doesn't really need skill. It's just an annoying weapon in my opinion. Okay, now, oops. Moving on to melee weapons. There is a wide variety of weapons you can use. Stuff from like brass knuckles. These are pretty much what they are. They're gauntlets, but I consider them brass knuckles because that's kind of what they look like to me. Whips, which is kind of like this right here. This thing is pretty nice, especially if you have a stance mod for it. Where are they? I know they have it here. The Cronin. These things are very nice, especially if you can get slash modification for it, attack speed, damage, and my personal favorite, flame. And then you get a mod that increases the critical chance or whatever, but that's generally kind of what you're going to want to look for from melee weapons, is this right here. The critical multiplier, as well as the critical chance. The higher the critical chance, the better the weapon, at least in my opinion. And the much easier it is to be able to deal with certain characters, I guess. They're not exactly the best, but it works. This one's kind of a starting weapon here, is the Skana. So the Skana, Mark I bow, and where is it? There's another one here that's kind of a starting weapon, in my opinion. Where is it? I might not, I don't see it, so it might be... Yeah, no, it's probably not here. It's probably something I found. But anyways, yeah, there's a lot. Now, in terms of warframes, these are things, I guess. Well, not blueprints, but anyways. So, here's what. 4, 6. So it's give or take 26, 27 warframes. Each one is very unique and special. For people who like to run around just berserker style, I'd recommend Volkir. And the only reason why I recommend her is her armor stat is ridiculous. And once you get a modification for it, you can even increase that to, like God knows what. Because I haven't even been able to take a look at the stats. Because I've never been able to complete Volkir's Warframe assembly. Saren is very nice. I personally enjoy using her. I have the Prime variant of her Warframe. And yes, it is her. So there's quite a few Femme Warframes in here. There's, I think, Saren, Volkir, Nova, I think Neza. I could be wrong. Don't ask me. Mirage, Mesa, or Mesa, Mag. Anyways, you get the idea. Necros is okay. It's not the best, but he'll get the job done. Sorry about that. I was kind of preoccupied. The phone kind of goes off every now and again. Gotta check on it. But anyways, moving on for the Warframes. Excalibur. This is one of the starting Warframes. Mag is another one. So it's kind of, as her name suggests, she's kind of like a magnetic crowd control type person. I don't know. I don't like using her. I tried her once, immediately hated my choice in using Mag. There are some people that swear by her, but I don't. Excalibur, he's I guess the best way I can describe this one is kind of DPS - crowd control. It's kind of that in between. Whereas Volt, the one that I'm using, is, in my opinion, strictly crowd control. I mean, look at this armor stat, it's only 15. But he makes up for it with his shields. But anyways, Volt is pretty decent. I love Volt, especially as a starting thing. Rhino, in my opinion, is a must in your collection, mainly because of this particular skill right here. Iron Skin. This gives you 100 points of damage, that it pretty much makes you invulnerable to most attacks. And instead of taking damage from your shield or your health, it takes away from practically a second skin. And Rhino Stomp, in my opinion, is good for those moments where, you know, if you need help, or if a teammate needs help, you can just run in, hit the stomp, and it sends practically everything flying. And gives you time to be able to pick up your squad mate. I've heard a lot of people swear by Nyx, but I don't know. I really wouldn't know. I've never used her before. Oh geez, what is this? Huh. Weird. Huh. Well, this looks like something that just hit my list. Nidus. Huh. I'll have to give him a try first, just to get a feel for how his game style is, or the way that he plays, because each Warframe brings a different style of combat. Ivara especially, because, you know, she has different abilities, I guess is the best way to put it. And is, in my opinion, more of a stealth-based frame than she is anything else, at least in my opinion. Another one that's really good for stealth too is, where is he? Where are you, buddy? Right here. Ash is very good for stealth gameplay, in my opinion. Is also very good for causing bleed effects, because they last longer and they do a crap ton of extra damage if you mod your frame correctly. Banshee, she's okay, but the only thing in my opinion that's good about her is this passive ability right here. It's because the weapon noises that you make are hushed. So feel free to just go all out. Ooh, Chroma. Chroma is a must, because he is literally a freaking dragon. Because he turns his pelt into a sentry. It literally lights everything on fire. Or whatever it is that you have set for your energy color or whatever. But enough of the Warframes, at least for now. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to go into. Oh yes. Yes. I almost forgot about this. Let's see here. So there are three different types of companions. There's Kubros and Kavats. Kavats are like cats. They're feline in nature. Except they're about the size of a dog, and they're really tall, lanky, and generally more suited for stealth gameplay. Whereas Kubros are kind of like your average canine, except they're bigger and they are more of a combat, upfront assault type deal. But you can mount them to be stealth or, whatever. And then, oops, I keep forgetting. then there's also Sentinels. These are kind of little robotic companions that float, you know, right about there, or right about there. So if you're able to, just imagine, you know, something like a repair drone or whatnot. I don't even know if they have that in here. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of the deal with those. They're robotic sentries. They stand near you, ward off attacks, or make you turn invisible for a few seconds, or hush your gunfire as you're fighting so others can't hear you, so on and so forth. I mean, you get the picture. So, let's see here, we're... defeat 3 Xmas planets. So, they recently added this. Well, not recently, but they added this pretty recently, and I've never really... I don't mind it, but in the same breath, I find it kind of irritating and annoying to deal with, because of the fact that it just... I don't know. They really could have done that just a tiny bit better, in my opinion, but, you know, it's a lot better than it was, where a lot of this year was spent just trying to figure out what the heck you were supposed to do.
Defend the cargo until reinforcements arrive.
This game, this mission's kind of fun. It's more split up into like kind of like a game mode type deal, I guess. Where this one's kind of like a horde mode or defense mission, you know, where there's only so many enemies in a wave, and you have to defeat them all, and you gotta stay at point A. Sometimes in the later on missions, when you're a higher level, there's point A and point B. Another thing I should notice, I should point out, is if you're going to be using thrown weapons like kunai, the pattern is, when you first fire, is top, bottom, so on and so forth. So always try to take that into consideration when you're throwing, especially across a great distance. You always know where your shot's going to land. So I just figured I'd point that out. And the same thing goes with bows too, because some have a maximum distance, some don't. Like the Daikyu bow that I showed you earlier. That thing, pure just long range combat. This one's more of kind of medium close. I mean, you can try for those longer ranges, but I've found that some places they don't really hit that well. Oh, and just like how each weapon has its own damage type, enemies can also cause what they call status effects, which are kind of pertaining to the type of damage that they deal. So like sometimes these guys will do puncture damage, or they'll do slash damage, which is normally pretty normal with shotguns. For most shotguns, anyways, not all. So, yeah, I generally, when I'm playing this game, I would usually be using a Rhino setup. Mainly because with Rhino you can do so much more than this. I'm probably not gonna be able to do this more than the first wave, or not first wave, first round. Because that's the funny thing with defense missions is it's kind of a mixture of horde and defense, like I said. Where the longer you stay here, and the longer you decide to defend, the harder and tougher the enemies become until it gets to the point to where, you know, you're dying every 2 seconds. So you kind of have to try to pick and choose your battles with this one. Another thing to notice with kunai is if you're in midair and you're not actually aiming, like doing the bullet jump, your shots will kind of land a little bit off. Just as a small heads up. Generally with defense missions, you'll have to survive up to wave 5 before you can either decide to stay or extract. Oh yeah, and with kunai, always lead your target. I apologize to some of you if I get quiet sometimes. I'm trying to concentrate while I'm talking and doing this, because a lot of times some people don't like content where you're just constantly just talking. There's other people that don't, or do. I mean, doesn't matter anyway, it's my channel. So if it were up to me, I wouldn't be doing a commentary on this, so I would really be trying to show some of the starting, the beginning tutorial stuff, even though I kind of already passed all that. The one thing I will say is a lot of people tend to misjudge this game because they think it's following a pay-to-win type deal, but I can guarantee you that it's not. Yeah, you can pay real-world money for some of the items in here, but you can generally tell the people that just buy everything don't really know what they're doing half the time. And then you have the other, 25% or so that they do know what they're doing. They've been here since launch, which was like 2000, or since the beta released. It's still technically an open beta stage. That they've actually earned it. You will come across some people on here that have a Warframe, and it's called Excalibur Prime. And that is a Warframe no one except for the people that were there and bought the original Founders Pack for this game when it first released. And to be honest, they've really put in time and effort.
Reinforcements available. Do you choose to leave now or continue fighting?
Have earned that spot. Oh, sorry about that. But yeah,
Operator, messages have arrived in your inbox. The inbox has messages for the operator. Anything about orders in there?
Anyways, as I was saying, it's not a pay-to-win game. As you'll notice in here, some of the stuff like the Prime Vaults, Oberon Prime Access, stuff like that, that's optional. I mean, you could buy it if you'd like. What I'd recommend really doing is, if you see, look right here, this thing right here is called Platinum. It's right next to the credits. The credits are in the in-game currency. I'd recommend holding on to as much of that as you can, not really buying too much right off the bat. Maybe like 1 or 2 really cheap blueprints for weapons, just to get you started. And then the Platinum, this is kind of something that's kind of like it's a premium. It can be traded in-game with people. It's not something you get and you can't really like trade it with anybody. It's, say like you're never gonna play this game again, but you want to give it away, or a friend of a friend that could use the Platinum, and you'd be like, hey, I'm not gonna be really playing the game anymore. You can actually go into a trading area and give them that Platinum. But yeah, so that's one way you can get Platinum in here. A lot of people think it's really hard to get Platinum. It's not.
Operator,
find really good
diagnostic
mods,
regression.
sell them,
All systems
or
nominal.
upgrade them and then
You
sell
don't
them.
need to thank me.
Preferably upgrading them and then selling them would probably be the best choice, at least in my opinion, because of the fact that it makes them more valuable instead of just having them as they are. Because I can tell you right now with let's see here, say primary. So like with the Serration mod, with it being as low level it is right now, definitely not going to be worth much, especially considering the fact that it's damaged.
But I wonder if there are
I need
more
to
to
see
be.
how much mod space I have in my Paris first before I upgrade the Serration porcelain. It's okay. But anyways, as I was saying, they're worth more by a lot when you upgrade them. So I'm gonna upgrade that. So now that I've upgraded that, if you look over here, now it does 134 damage, whereas if I grab that back, yeah, you're definitely gonna want to keep the Serration mods. Serration for primaries, oops. Hornet Strike for pistols, and I will go on to say that these things also work with throwing knives and so on and so forth.
Excellent armaments,
And you
operator.
definitely
Please
want to
return
get it
Covered
pressure
in
point,
blood.
safe and sound.
because this increases the amount of damage that you can do with the weapon. So instead of just it being 48.6 or 40.5, it turns it into 48.6. So, oh yeah, and whoops, sorry. Before I move on, you'll notice that there's a little symbol here. That is what I call a mod attunement, where if you were to put a mod that had this symbol, which is the Vazarin symbol, it would cost half, or 25%. So 25 to 50% reduction in capacity. As you'll notice with, I think, this right here, you see that? Normally it costs 2, it now only costs 1. That reminds me, I'm going to go upgrade that real quick in the mod menu. Secondary, strike, fusion. Boom, boom, boom. Oops. Boom, boom. Oh, I don't have enough for it. Okay. Well, 20% is better than 10. let's see. But anyways, yeah. And then over here, this is your codex. You can kind of see the different modifications, which is kind of nice because it could show you this type of stuff that you can earn over time. And yeah, it's pretty nice. This over here is your, what they call the conclave. It's your kind of like your PvP arena type deal. You can play, you know, capture the flag, TDM, and free for all or FFA, as well as the things that they call Lunaro, which is kind of like a, I want to say badminton, but I have no idea what it is. Let's see here. So you'll notice that this has two different choices here. That's because there's a fissure open for the void. It allows you to open a void relic. I really wouldn't start these right off the bat if you saw them. I'd really go with the regular mission, because that'd be the better choice, especially if you're starting off in the beginning. And again, that's only in my personal opinion. You can play how you like.
There is a large platoon of Grenier Marines stationed here. Leave no one standing.
Oh yeah, and all this foliage and fauna that you're seeing right now, I'm going to let you know right now that with the recent update, this stuff was never here like one update ago. So yeah, they just recently added all of this. And I kind of like it, but in the same breath I kind of don't, mainly just because I liked seeing it kind of as like a bare ground. Oof. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I was concentrating. As I said before, I tend to do that from time to time, so I apologize if I go quiet. Sometimes it's not me just being rude. Oh, okay, that was the thing. It kind of sounded like a cat. That was weird. But anyways, moving on. Like I said, I'm not trying to be, like I said, rude, I guess. Like, I really wouldn't know what to call it, just because of the fact that, as I've stated before, some people like being spoken at, others don't. I mean, you kind of have to, being a YouTuber is kind of hard, but also kind of not at the same time. Because I really would like to be able to schedule streams, but the only problem with that is that I don't have an actual, like, legitimate schedule that I can work by until I get my own PC, which is, like, because I'm part of friends pretty much right now. He's out for a bit. I asked him if I could use the PC, and he's like, yeah, go ahead. So
You're still in the clear. No detection from enemy sensors.
huh. Well, that fixed our problem. And plus, I'm really tired too. Like, there's been a couple of days where I haven't been able to get much sleep, and that was kind of by my own decision. So, yeah. Then I also had a really long day at work. So, I apologize if I'm slipping in and out here from talking to not talking. It's just, man, it's life. Oh look, it's wild Kubros. Must be we're gonna find it kind of weird or strange that I say the wild cool bros. Like, I mean, it's kind of what it sounds like, so bear with me. Autumn puns. Oh yeah, that's another thing I like to point out too about this this game too, when I can. Once I see if I can find another resource cache. So you see this stuff here? When I was playing this not too far back, just like sporadically on my PS4, we didn't get nice things like this. We got stuff like this, where it's pure RNG. Where it's like, either you get it, or you don't. And it was a pain to get resources because of that. So. But they've kind of fixed that, and I'm to be honest, it's I welcome that type of change because it's a nice thing that they've done. Yep, so those are Kubros. They're kind of like wild dogs, I guess. Cool story, bro. But yeah, I'd recommend for the majority of this game is to go onto the forums or in the game as well to try to find a clan. I generally prefer to play as a solo player, just mainly because of the fact that, you know, a lot of the times there are some things that happen where it's just like really don't appreciate it, you know, just as a gamer in general, not as like a general way of like saying, you know, fuck everybody, but I really prefer being able to do things without having to really get too into it. Double kill.
The enemy is broken. Well done. Now get to extraction.
Well, yeah. But anyways, yeah, I prefer generally playing solo. I don't mind playing with close friends. I also don't mind playing with new players as well, kind of teaching them the ropes. There are some advanced things I'm not quite sure about, or for certain myself, because I've never really gotten towards the end game content of this game. So the closest thing I've really gotten to is doing Yeah, I think to note about Kubros is you know you've aggroed them if their eyes glow red. Most oftentimes not, but we'll look it up. Also another really good way to get affinity. Even though I dislike having to do this. Like, I really dislike having to do this. They really shouldn't have added this. At least in my opinion. Yep, I just got slash damage. That's another thing too, you need to be careful about with Kubras is they do a considerable amount of slash damage if they attack you for too long. Ah man, I really have to do this. Oof. Okay, so now that it's over with, normally it really shouldn't take you this long to destroy a Kubro den, but considering the fact that I am literally a noob with noob armor and a wooden staff with a wooden knife and a wooden bow. So, yeah. Well, the bow not so much, considering that the Mark 1 bow is pretty nice, but feels kind of like you're just prodding stuff with a stick sometimes. It's kind of irritating. Surprise! I like how the guy just started running. Like, he's not even gonna question. He's like, yep, nope, I'm out of here. Bye. You may notice me doing this a lot where I kind of run, slide, jump, double jump, aim. But
keep moving. None of the
speed in this game
scanners
is
have detected
kind of important, but in the same breath it's kind of not at the same time. Really just kind of depends on what you want to do. Ooh, basin deflection. It's for a Kubro. Nice! Alright, let's see. Alright. Well, I think that's enough for one day, at least for now. I shall see you guys tomorrow.